Welcome to Tea Time with Shayleigh and Amber. I'm Shayleigh Evans, and I'm a life coach for pets and their people. I'm a truth seeker, and it's my passion to empower others and to give animals a voice along the way.
I'm Amber Leidick, and I've been a performance horse trainer focused on behavioral issues for over 20 years. My current passion is creating impactful in-person and online events and collaborating with professionals to be on the leading edge of positive change in the horse industry.
We are two friends invested in theta healing, belief system work, animal communication, and any resources that benefit human-animal partnerships. So turn up the volume and let's dive into the Great Awakening, brought to you by our horses. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. If you missed last week's episode, I believe it was Rochelle's episode, wasn't it? On boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah. How boundaries affect your body. It's a super cool episode. We got a little TMI from yours truly. Did you leave that in there for the public?
I don't remember. It's gone.
Probably did. Probably did. So if you want to hear about all the things, go to that episode. We are a little bit like giant puddles of jello today. We just got done doing our 3-hour boundaries workshop this weekend. It was so freaking fun. It was packed, literally so packed that when I got off the call, I texted Amber and I was like, my mouth is dry, my throat is sore. I tried to talk as fast as I could to pack in as much info. I believe that it will be for resale later. And there's just, it's like all the things you didn't think tied into boundaries are in that conversation. So you'll want to be on the lookout for that. And we were kind of laughing this morning, thinking about what we were going to talk about. And I was like, well, I'm probably going to talk about my avocado from this morning and the solar eclipse. So yeah, should be a mumbo jumbo of things, but literally, okay, I know that there is someone out there that can relate to this. When you are excited about having an avocado on your breakfast, the avocado like ties in the meal. Like you can have like an egg and a hash brown, but like the avocado literally makes or breaks the meal. And when it looks perfectly amazing on the outside and you squeeze it and it's got like the perfect texture and then you cut it open and it's brown on the inside, it is devastating. It is like the worst. Or when it looks green and perfect and then you tasted it and it's like not perfection, it'll make or break the meal. Prove me wrong. Somebody comment on this and let me know. It's a thing.
Oh, I didn't even know the avocado story, but I will tell you that it is because Johnny had been doing avocado toast and there was one left and we were excited because we were like waiting for it to be perfect. And then like when I cut it open, it was very much not perfect. And it was so like the many days that went by where we were like, okay, we're gonna like it's gonna be so good and all the anticipation and the buildup. And then it was like, oh, well, and he was like, that's not what it's supposed to look like. And I was like, you're right, it's not. So we had to move on. We had to move on and it was very sad.
It's so sad. Avocados are like relationships, you know? They're like a certain way on the outside. You never know what you're going to get on the inside.
Oh my God.
If you guys are listening to this podcast real time, there is a lot going on around in the world. It is March 25th, 2024 right now. If you are listening to this now, there are solar eclipses happening. We're going into spring. I say all this to say, be graceful with yourself. Have a lot of grace because, man, the horses are shedding, takes a lot out of them. Hormones are crazy. The birds are coming back. I really feel like bird energy is like, it really affects everybody when they're like nesting, mating, doing all the things. Like you were talking about the birds that like came back to your house, the swallows. My swallows are not home yet. Yeah,
We
mine
just
aren't
sometimes
back
we
yet.
have like a few that will come early. And then we started this call and I look out and there's a huge raven and he has like a mouthful of like straw. And I was like, oh, he's going to build his nest. Spring has sprung.
It's so fun. I know. And with spring comes all the allergens and everything. And people always think that they need to be in like do it mode because like the wildlife and everything are like so busy getting their nests ready and stuff. But if you are like us, very tired, very exhausted, I was telling Amber that I feel, and I know someone's gonna message me. I don't really need any DMs. I'm actually okay. But people always message me when I'm like, oh, I got fatigued. I'll get like DMs where people are like, do you need this or that? And I'm like, It's just a moment in time. I'm gonna be okay, but I am a little dramatic, so I like to talk about it. Um, this week, I feel like my body has been like going through the ringer where I'm like super tired, but I'm not actually physically tired. It's like an energy exhaustion. And I really fully believe that the more we get connected to our bodies, ourselves, the earth, all of that stuff, you feel the changes a lot more in depth.
Yeah. And it's so funny that people always talk. I don't know if it's my algorithms on like in Instagram or Facebook or whatever, where it's like you have all of these things about like people doing spiritual things and like the work, and they're talking about like this connectedness and the way that it's portrayed on like social media in like an artistic form is like this magical, like glorious, like oh, all the things, and I'm ascending and I'm awakening, and it's like you're resensitizing yourself, you're becoming re-embodied, and what and it's like a whole new learning thing, and I don't think this is like I don't say it's not amazing because I feel like it is, but that's the thing where when you do come back to, I believe, who you were when you got here, and you are very connected and in touch, like that stuff does kind of take its toll on you, if you're not mindful of it. And even if you are, and it's like a re-education of how to be in the world almost, so that you don't kind of get taken out. Um, because there's rough moments, man, and like to go through those rough moments and like learn through them instead of letting them just like take you back into, okay, well, I'm just gonna drink a bunch of wine and go watch TV and not think about it until my body gets so bad you end up being sick. Because then once you know all that stuff, it has to be your default because you know that if you ignore the discomfort and you don't just sit in it and feel it and go through it, or just learn about it. Like, ooh, I wonder why. I wonder what's
Mm-hmm.
happening around us and like why it's happening, and dive into that. But yeah, it can be freaking exhausting sometimes. I think even coming off of like the workshops that we do sometimes, like being in there for 3 hours and recognizing when you are so sensitive and so attuned with other people's energy, even if you're just on a Zoom call or even however you interact with people on social media, you have to know that your energy is like intertwining with them, and the different ways you can protect yourself and then the different ways that you can separate yourself after is like super crucial. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Yeah, I feel like people, it's so funny because I have a lot of clients in the corporate world, and I will tell them all the time, like, you get on these meetings or these calls, and a lot of people, you think about energetic hygiene with horses, and when you're in that certain space, you're like, oh, yes, I need to cleanse and clear. But so many horses will tell their person, like, hey, you've got all this energy attached to you today. And the person will be like, I was in like a huge meeting or I had to do a presentation or whatever. So even if you're not actively, when you're just out there in the world, going to the grocery store, like um getting back in your car and just like making it a point to like cleanse and clear for a second. And I don't think it has to be all the time, but like the awareness piece is so cool when you know that you're like, if you know your baseline, like, I'm a generally chill person, I feel a certain way, I'm having like a good day today, or I'm feeling happy, whatever. Then let's say your husband comes home, or let's say you go to the grocery store or whatever, like a new segment happens, and all of a sudden you're anxious or you're grumpy or your mood changes. Like, if you can stop in that moment and not get carried away in it and just get grumpy, or you can be like, hold on, like I was happy 2 seconds ago. Why all of a sudden am I feeling like this? And that awareness piece, you can literally just be like, okay, is this mine? No. And cleansing that from your body, just that alone can make such a difference. Yeah. I'm like distracted because for some reason, because we always have like a little animal story on here, like we always have a fun animal story happening. Can we tell the people of the world that you magically happened upon Rocco's brother?
Oh, wow. I'll put a picture. I'll put a picture in. Yeah. So strange. So my dog Rocco is a unicorn. He's a German Shepherd boxer, and we found him on Craigslist, and I got him. actually at the start of my divorce. So I had him at my old house. And then while we were transitioning and out of a marriage and into a new property and everything, we decided it would be a great time to get a dog because why not? And so my older son was on Craigslist looking at dogs, and I said, we either want a German Shepherd or a boxer. And he, of course, found a German Shepherd boxer mixed together. And so we went to get him, and we met this guy at a liquor store in the small town on the way to where we live now. In the back of his truck, he just had like 4 or 5 of these little fluff balls, and they were wormy and gross. And they were like $100, and they were kind of, I guess, an accidental litter from his 2 ranch dogs. And so we didn't really know what we were gonna get. But he's turned out to be like the best dog. And I was on Facebook, I don't know, last week, and it was on one of the garage sale pages, and it was this lady selling her lattice. And in front of this lattice were her 2 dogs. And I tell you, there are a lot of like German Shepherd mixes out there that look really similar. You know what I mean? Like they all kind of have that same like look. But I'm telling you that I scrolled past this and I literally thought it was Rocco. I was like, that is my dog. Like his eyes, his ear,
Full
like
on
every
doppelganger.
I was like, what? Like, how could that not be? And so I commented, I was like, I'm not really interested in your lattice, but I'm interested in where you got your dog because he looks exactly like mine. And I'm just wondering if you got him in Aromas. And she like typed back and she was like, I did get him in Aromas. He's going to be 8 in July. And I was like, oh my God, we totally. And she sent me a couple more pictures and a picture with her son, who's like the same age as my son, holding the dog when he was like 8 weeks old. It was just like, and I sent them back. So it was just like a whole wild ass thing. His name is Harvey. And he's exactly like Rocco. Like she was like saying some things about him. I was like, that is so crazy. Um, People keep asking, are you gonna get them together? And I think at this point, at 7, I don't know that Rocco cares to meet his litter mate, but maybe that's a question for you. Like, you should ask him, do you want to meet your brother? But we didn't really go further than
I
that, other
know.
than it was just like this wild, like, what the heck? Like, so it was kind of crazy. It was cute.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool story. I feel like Rocco, I kind of agree. I feel like he's gonna be like, oh yeah, cool. Rocco's like not super interested. He's like a human dog anyway. Like he's more into his human relation with you. And then he has his Luna. I feel like if you introduced him to his brother, he'd kind of just be like, all right.
I know. I was like, I don't
But
think it would be as like exciting of a reunion as people would want it to be. I think that they would be like, oh, hey, hey. And then that would be the end.
yeah, it's actually kind of funny because people want to reunite like family members with their other family members all the time. And I actually talked to 2 Mustangs not too long ago where it was the full brother of one of the Mustangs and the mom.
Oh.
And he recognized his mom and was like really excited to see her and like um there was that energy there and then there was like a hello with the brother and then they like went their separate ways and she was like were they excited to see each other, like did they want to be with each other or whatever. And it's like yes, it's like nice to know, but there's also this sense of like being who they are, accepting their lessons with where they are, knowing that they have a soul contract and like a role to fill in the world. And while like they'll say that they're excited or they're happy to know that like their mom is good and everything like that, I never get like this. It's interesting too because the ones that actually bring up their mom, like there's another little Mustang that I talked to that talks about how he misses his mom and how he is sad about his mom. And then there was one that I talked to recently where he remembers his mom dying. Like he's talked about how another Mustang mare had to take him in because his mom never got up.
Oh.
And I feel like with those horses, like if they were ever reunited with their family, it'd be kind of cool to see how it would be. Like it would be like a different story, but I've never gotten to like connect to one that said that and then the person be able to find their family members. But the ones that aren't like actively looking, it's kind of interesting because they're like, oh, yeah, that's cool, but like, here's my mission right now.
Yeah, you know who does a lot of that? I follow this. And I always thought it would be interesting to have her on the podcast. Skydog, and it's the
Oh,
Mustang
yeah, it'd be
Sanctuary.
cool to have her.
Because she does a lot of that. Well, they'll find different family members all over the place and pull them out of wherever they are, holding pens or auctions or whatever, and like reunite the families and let them go live back out as families, like in all of her acreage. Um, it'd be interesting to talk to her and have her on. She
Yeah,
sounds
she
cool.
does some cool work.
She
Yeah,
does.
I'm actually gonna like write down that right now because we for sure we should have her on. Oh my
I found
gosh. Cool, cool, cool.
I found it interesting. We were talking about our bound boundaries workshop, and there was a lot of information in there. And I kind of had that thought before. I was like, maybe we should try to time it out, but like we didn't because it's us. And so what we had people do as an exercise, go out and we wanted people to be able to practice their boundaries like with each other, human feedback. But then what came through at the very end was we did that once, and then what came through was I want you to take this boundary out and go read it out loud and have your horse in your space with you and let them be the gauge of, does it sound like it's coming from an aligned place, or do you need to keep working on it? And did you see in the group how someone had posted that they did that, and it was the person that was having a little bit of struggle with opening her heart and then closing? We had done an exercise like that, and she's like, I can't really feel it. And then when she went out into her horse's space, it really feels like he probably facilitated her ability to do that. But to be able to like
Yeah.
read it and have him come in and be like, oh, you're on the right track. So when you're talking about like their purpose and why they come back, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's my relative, but like back to what I'm here to do. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because us as humans, we get so much more attached to like past stories and like what the future is going to look like, and we're so bouncing all over the place. But to have these animals like be able to be like, oh, come back, like I'm staying focused, can you? Like this is your mission for your little soul, like stay here with me in this present moment. I thought that was really rad.
Yeah. It's so cool just thinking about like the heart opening and closing conversation in general and how like my evolution, especially if people have been listening to this podcast from the beginning and how I started out the beginning of the year last year with like Biggie and I have personality conflict and I felt like we were just kind of like butting heads and um just learning how to get more intentional in like my personal space, my personal like energy, and you and I having that conversation. So I was like, he's so invasive. He's constantly pushing against me. And you're like, does he do it to your husband? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So then I like didn't tell Justin anything. And I was like,
Sent
hey,
him
can
in
you turn him out for
unknowingly.
me? Yeah, sent him in unknowingly. And Biggie like went to put his head into Justin's face, and Justin just like gently put his hand up against his head. And Biggie like went back to neutral. And then he like put his halter on and went on his merry way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, it's definitely me. And you and I had that conversation, and like I was visualizing how I wanted it to go and stuff. And then I was like almost bummed out that I wasn't able to like actually like set forth my boundary in physical form because it has never happened again. Like we had that conversation and I was like, "Oh yeah, I can cultivate that energy of like this is my bubble and this is what I like want in my space." And that piece that you talked about a lot in our conversation of like you have to be willing to enforce the boundary, like don't set a boundary that you're not willing to follow through with. And so we had like this plan that you and I talked about, and then I was like, damn it, like I've haltered him like 50 times since then and I've never once had to like even stick up my hand to tell him not to come into my space.
I know, and we talked about that in the workshop too. It's like it's when you really get aligned with what you want and how it looks and what you will or will not accept, then you most of the time don't have to. And I work with that when I go like horsemanshipy, and we work with someone's actual horse, and it's always boundaries are usually, I'd say, the number one thing that people sort of struggle with their horses, and boundaries to move forward, boundaries to go, out of space or whatever. And it's always people will hesitate and not want to because A, they don't want to follow up, or B, it's like something that causes them to close down and like shut your heart space, and all you like shrink up. And the moment that you're willing to not do that, all of a sudden the original issue that you were having just doesn't show up. And I believe it's because the lesson didn't need to be learned. Like you've already committed to it energetically, so the lesson doesn't need to show up in your actual space. So there's a lot of this stuff that people get they get worried about having to do it and having to follow through because it's going to be uncomfortable. But if you're willing to be uncomfortable, usually you don't even have to go into doing any of it. So I don't know if it's just your visualization and you're really clear about what it's going to look like, and also you're setting up boundaries that you are willing to follow through because you are feeling worthy of it and you know how important it is, and then all of a sudden it's like you are not an energetic match for the things that are going to push on your boundaries, so they just never show up.
Yep, that's it. Thanks for listening. That's all we got. That's all we got for today. I can feel.
Yeah,
I love the sentiment of that. I like ending on that. Can feel my body
totally.
getting heavy with no more words to say. So,
We needed to show up, and we did. That's all you get, everyone. Buckle up for whatever you're about to learn and let go of through this eclipse season. Um, and
mhm.
Mercury retro goes into retrograde on April 1st. Isn't that fun? That is when I get really creative. I actually thrive in the Mercury retrogrades. So I'm excited. I know some people get a little weird about it. Don't let outside circumstances and memes and funny videos and shit about the Mercury retrograde fuck with your vibe during the retrograde. I have adopted the belief that I get super productive and creative in it, and you should too. So, um, I guess that's it. If you guys want to mingle with us a little bit more, we have our cool membership. We don't have anything online for a hot minute, but we do have Elements of Connection coming up. The application process is now open until I want to say 2 days after taxes. Taxes are due 15th, 16th, 17th,
Yeah,
17th of
April
April.
19th.
Oh, 19th.
No,
Okay,
it's the
Friday.
19th. Yeah.
Friday after. So get your applications in. It's in Aptos, California. This is our third one, and all of the information for the application is on the application. So I will put the link for that in the show notes. And then if you guys are feeling interested, um, then you can take a look and look at it and see if you want to go.
Yeah. We want
Okay,
to see you. It's July 24th through the 28th, and it's going to be awesome as they always are.
it
So
is. I feel like each
thanks
one
for
is going to
hanging out
get
with
better
us.
than last. All right.
I know. See ya.